The book of Mark, chapter 4, verse 1. Mark 4 and 1, Mark, the fourth chapter, and the first verse. A story about a farmer sowing seed. Another time, Jesus began teaching by the lake, and a large crowd gathered around him. He got into a boat so that he could sit and teach from the lake. All the people stayed on the shore near the water. Jesus used stories to teach them many things. One of his lessons included this story. Listen, a farmer went out to sow seed. While he was scattering the seed, some of it fell by the road. The birds came and ate all that seed. Other seed fell on rocky road, where there was not enough dirt. It grew quickly there because the soil was not deep. But then the sun rose and the plants were burned. They died because they did not have deep roots. Some other seed fell among thorny weeds. The weeds grew and stopped the good plants from growing. So they did not make grain, but some of the seed fell on good ground. There it began to grow and it made grain. Some plants made 30 times more grain, some 60 times more, and some 100 times more. Then Jesus said to the people, you people who hear me, listen. Why Jesus used stories to teach. Later, Jesus was away from the people. The 12 apostles and his other followers asked him about the stories. Jesus said, only you can know the secret truth about God's kingdom. But to those people, I tell everything by using stories. I do this so that they will look and look, but really never see. They will listen and listen, but never understand. If they saw and understood, they might change and be forgiven. Jesus explains the story about the seed. Then Jesus said to the followers, do you understand this story? If you don't, how will you understand any story? The farmer is like someone who plants God's teaching in people. Sometimes the teaching falls on the path. That is like some people who hear the teaching of God. As soon as they hear it, Satan comes and takes away the teaching that was planted in them. Other people are like the seed planted on rocky road. They hear the teaching and they quickly and gladly accept it, but they don't allow it to go deep into their lives. They keep it only a short time. As soon as trouble or persecution comes because of the teaching they accepted, they give up. Others are like seed planted among the thorny weeds. They hear the teaching, but their lives become full of other things, the worries of this life, the love of money, everything else they want. This keeps the teaching from growing and it does not produce a crop in their lives. And others are like the seed planted on the good ground. They hear the teaching and accept it. Then they grow and produce a good crop. Sometimes 30 times more, sometimes 60 times more, and sometimes 100 times more. Use the understanding you have. Then Jesus said to them, you don't have a lamp and hide it under a bowl or a bed, do you? Of course not. You put it on a lampstand. Everything that is hidden will be made clear. Every secret thing will be made known. You people who hear, listen. Think carefully about what you're hearing. God will know how much to give you by how much you understand now, but he will give you more than you deserve. The people who have some understanding will receive more, but those who do not have much will lose even the small amount they have. Jesus uses a story about seed. Then Jesus said, God's kingdom is like a man who plants seed in the ground. The seed begins to grow. It grows night and day. It doesn't matter whether the man is sleeping or awake, the seed still grows. He doesn't know how it happens. Without any help, the ground produces grain. First the plant grows, then the head, and then all the grain in the head. When the grain is ready, the man cuts it. This is harvest time. What is God's kingdom like? Then Jesus said, what can I use to show you what God's kingdom is like? What story can I use to explain it? God's kingdom is like a mustard seed, which is smaller than any other seed on earth that you can plant. But when you plant it, it grows and becomes the largest of all the plants in your garden. It has branches that are very big. The wild birds can come and make nests there and be protected from the sun. Jesus used many stories like these to teach the people. He taught them all they could understand. He always used some stories to teach them, but when he was done with his followers, Jesus explained everything to them. Jesus' followers see his power. That day at evening, Jesus said to his followers, come with me across the lake. So they left the crowd behind and went with Jesus in the boat he was already in. There were also other boats that went with them. A very bad wind came up on the lake. The waves were coming over the sides and into the boat. It was almost full of water. Jesus was inside the boat sleeping with his head on a pillow. The followers went and woke him. They said, teacher, don't you care about us? We're going down. We're going to drown. Jesus stood up and gave a command to the wind and water. He said, quiet, be still. Then the wind stopped and the lake became calm. He said to his followers, why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith? They were afraid and asked each other, what kind of man is this? Even the wind and the water obey him. Mark chapter 5, verse 1, Jesus frees a man from evil spirits. Jesus and his followers went across the lake to the area where the Gerasene people lived. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man came to him from the caves where the dead are buried. The man had an evil spirit living inside him. He lived in the burial caves. No one could keep him tied, even with chains. Many people put chains on his hands and feet, but he broke the chains. No one was strong enough to control him. Day and night, he stayed around the burial caves and on the hills. He would scream and cut himself with rocks. While Jesus was far away, the man saw him. He ran to Jesus and bowed down before him. As Jesus was saying, "You evil spirit, come out of this man," the man shouted loudly, "What do you want to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you in God's name not to punish me." Then Jesus asked the man, "What is your name?" The man answered, "My name is Legion, because there are many spirits inside me." The spirits inside the man begged again and again not to send them out of that area. A large herd of pigs was eating on a hill near there. The evil spirits begged Jesus, "Send us to the pigs. Let us go into them." So Jesus allowed them to do this. The evil spirits left the man and went into the pigs. Then the herd of pigs ran down the hill and into the lake. They were all drowned. There were about 2,000 pigs in that herd. The men who had work of caring for the pigs ran away. They ran to the town and to the farms and told everyone what happened. People went out to see. They came to Jesus and saw the man who had the many evil spirits. He was sitting down and was wearing clothes. He was in his right mind again. When they saw this, they were afraid. Those who had seen what Jesus did told the others what happened to the man who had the demons inside in him. And they also told about the pigs. And the people began to beg Jesus to leave their area. Jesus was preparing to leave in the boat. A man who was now free from the demons begged to go with him, the man rather. But Jesus did not allow the man to go. He said, "Go home to your family and friends. Tell them about all the Lord did for you. Tell them how the Lord was good to you." So the man left and told the people in the 10 towns about the great things Jesus did for him. Everyone was amazed. Jesus gives life to a dead girl and heals a sick woman. Jesus went back to the other side of the lake in the boat. There, a large crowd of people gathered around him on the shore. A leader of the synagogue came. His name was Jairus. He saw Jesus and bowed down before him. He begged Jesus again and again, saying, "My little daughter is dying. Please come and lay your hands on her. Then she will be healed and will live." Then Jesus went with Jairus, and many people followed Jesus. They were pushing very close around him. There among the people was a woman who had been bleeding for the past 12 years. She had suffered very much. Many doctors had tried to help her, and all the money she had was spent, but she was not improving. In fact, her sickness was getting worse. The woman heard about Jesus, so she followed him with the other people and touched his coat. She thought, "If I can just touch his clothes, that will be enough to heal me." Thank you, Jesus. As soon as she touched his coat, her bleeding stopped. She felt that her body was healing from all the suffering. Jesus immediately felt power go out from him. So he stopped and turned around. "Who touched my clothes?" he asked. The followers said to Jesus, "There's so many people pushing against you, but you asked, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus continued looking for the one who touched him. The woman knew that she was healed, so she came and bowed at Jesus' feet. She was shaking with fear. She told Jesus the whole story. He said to her, "Dear woman, you're made well because you believe. Go in peace. You will not suffer anymore." While Jesus was still speaking, some men came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue leader. They said, "Your daughter is dead. There's no need to bother the teacher." But Jesus did not care what the men said. He said to the synagogue leader, "Don't be afraid. Just believe." Jesus let only Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, go with him. They went to the synagogue's leader's house, where Jesus saw many people crying loudly. There was a lot of confusion. He entered the house and said, "Why are you people crying and making so much noise? This child is not dead. She's only sleeping." But everyone laughed at him. Jesus told the people, "Leave the house." Then he went into the room where the child was. He brought the child's father and mother and his 3 followers into the room with him. Then Jesus held the girl's hands and said to her, "Talitha koum." This means, "Little girl, I tell you to stand up." The girl immediately stood up and began walking. She was 12 years old. The father and the mother and the followers were amazed. Jesus gave the father and mother strict orders not to tell about this. Then he told them to give the girl some food to eat. Mark chapter 6, Jesus goes to his hometown. Jesus left and went back to his hometown. His followers went with him. On the Sabbath day, Jesus taught in the synagogue, and many people heard him. They were amazed and said, "Where did this man get this teaching? How did he get such wisdom? Who gave it to him? And where did he get the power to do miracles? Isn't he just a carpenter we know? Mary's son, the brother of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon? And don't his sisters still live here in town?" So they had the problem accepting him. Then Jesus said to them, "People everywhere give honor to a prophet except in his hometown, with his own people or in his own home." Jesus was not able to do many miracles there except the healing of some sick people by the laying his hands on them. He was surprised that the people had no faith. Then he went to the other villages in that area and taught. Jesus sends his apostles on a mission. Jesus called his 12 apostles together. He sent them out in groups of 2 and gave them power over evil spirits. This is what he told them. Take nothing for your trip except a stick for walking. Take no bread, no bag, no money. You can wear sandals, but don't take extra clothes. When you enter a house, stay there until you leave that town. If any town refuses to accept you or refuses to listen to you, then leave that town and shake the dust off your feet as a warning to them. The apostles left and went to the other places. They talked to the people and told them to change their hearts and lives. They forced many demons out of the people and put olive oil on many who were sick and healed them. Herod thinks Jesus is John the Baptizer. King Herod heard about Jesus because Jesus was now famous. Some people said, he's John the Baptizer. He must have risen from death, and that is why he can do these miracles. Other people said, he is Elijah. Others said, he is a prophet. He is like the prophets who lived long ago. Herod heard these things about Jesus. He said, I killed John by cutting off his head. Now he has been raised from death. How John the Baptizer was killed. Herod himself had ordered his soldiers to arrest John and put him in prison. Herod did this to please his wife Herodias. She had been married to Herod's brother Philip, but then Herod married her. John told Herod, it is not right for you to be married to your brother's wife. So Herodias hated him, but she wanted him dead. But she was not able to persuade Herod to kill him. Herod was afraid to kill John because he knew he was a good and holy man, so he protected him. He liked listening to John, although what John said left him with so many questions. Then the right time came for Herodias to cause John's death. It happened on Herod's birthday. Herod gave a dinner party for the most important government leaders, the commanders of his army, and the most important people in Galilee. The daughter of Herodias came to the party and danced. When she danced, Herod and the people eating with him were very pleased. So King Herod said to the girl, I'll give you anything you want. He promised her, anything you ask for, I'll give you to you, even half of my kingdom. The girl went to her mother and asked, what should I ask King Herod to give me? Her mother answered, ask for the head of John the Baptizer. So right then the girl went back into the king. She said to him, please give me the head of John the Baptizer. Bring it to me now on a plate. King Herod was very sad, but he didn't want to break the promise he had made in front of his guests. So he sent a soldier to cut off John's head and bring it to him. The soldier went and cut off John's head in the prison. He brought the head back on a plate and gave it to the girl, and the girl gave it to her mother. What? He's more than 5,000. The apostles Jesus had sent out. They gathered around about all that they had done and taught. Jesus and his followers were in a very busy place. There were so many people that he and his followers did not even have time to eat. He said to them, come with me. We will go to a quiet place to be alone. There we can get some rest. So Jesus and his followers went away alone. They went in a boat to a place where no one lived. But many people saw them leave and knew who they were. So people from every town ran to the place where they were going and got there before Jesus. As Jesus stepped out of the boat, he saw a large crowd waiting. He felt sorry for them because they were like sheep without a shepherd to care for them. So he taught the people many things. It was now very late in the day. No people away. They need to go to the farms and towns around here to buy some food to eat. But Jesus answered, you give them some food to eat. They said to Jesus, we can't buy enough bread to feed all these people. We would have to work a month to earn enough to buy that much bread. Jesus asked them, how many loaves of bread do you have now? Go and see. They counted their loaves. They came to Jesus and said, we have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Then Jesus in groups on the green grass. So all the people sat in groups. There were about 50 or 100 people in each group. Jesus took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish. He looked up to the sky and thanked God for the food. Then he broke the bread into pieces, which he gave to his followers to distribute to the people. Then he divided the 2 fish among everyone there. They all ate until they were full. After they finished eating, the followers filled 12 baskets with pieces of bread and fish that were left. There were about 5,000 men there who ate. Jesus walks on water. Then Jesus told the followers to get into the boat. He told them to go to the other side to the lake of Bethsaida. He said he would come later. He stayed there to tell everybody they could go home. After he said goodbye to them, he went up into the hills to pray. That night, the boat was still in the middle of the lake. Jesus was alone on the land. He saw the boat far away on the lake. He saw the followers working hard to row the boat. The wind was blowing against them. Sometime between 3 and 6 o'clock in the morning, Jesus went out to the boat walking on the water. He continued walking until he was almost past the boat. But the followers saw Jesus walking on the water. They thought he was a ghost, and they started screaming. It scared them all to see him, but he spoke to them and said, don't worry, it's me. Don't be afraid. When they got into the boat with the followers, the wind stopped. The followers were completely amazed. They could not believe what happened. It was like the miracle he did with the bread. They still didn't understand what that meant. Jesus heals many sick people. Jesus and his followers went across the lake and came to the shore of Gennesaret. They tied the boat there. When they were out of the boat, the people there saw Jesus. They knew who he was, so they ran to tell others throughout that area. They brought the sick people on mats to every place Jesus went. Jesus went into the towns, cities, and farms around that area, and every place he went, the people brought sick people to the marketplaces. They begged him to let them touch any part of his coat, and all those who touched him were healed. Please put it in the comment section, these words. This is the word of the Lord. Follow, like, and subscribe, and hit that arrow at the bottom of the screen to